Right now, someone is finishing their 1-hour gym session. Cardio done, crunches done, dripping in sweat, and tomorrow morning they will step on the scale and see almost nothing changed. Meanwhile, someone else did 10 minutes after dinner last night. No gym, no equipment, no special clothes, and their waistline is slowly shrinking week by week. Same goal, completely different results. The difference is not effort. The difference is which 10 minutes they are doing and exactly when they are doing it. If you have been doing more cardio, but your belly fat refuses to move, here is the truth nobody in the fitness industry wants to say out loud. The problem is probably not that you are doing too little. The problem is that you are doing the wrong thing and sending the wrong signal to your body every single day. Your body runs on hormonal instructions. And the most powerful of those instructions for belly fat is insulin. Every time you eat, insulin rises to manage the incoming energy. While insulin is high, your body is in full storage mode. Fat burning is essentially paused. Not slowed, paused. The size of that insulin spike and how long it stays elevated determines how much of your day your body spends storing fat versus burning it. Most people spike insulin 3 to 5 times a day through meals and snacks. Then they wonder why fat loss feels impossible, even when they eat relatively clean. Clean food still triggers insulin, and elevated insulin still tells your body to store energy rather than release it. Here is where most people go wrong. They finish a meal, sit down, and stay still for hours. Insulin peaks, stays elevated, and your body dutifully stores whatever it can. Then they go to the gym later and wonder why belly fat will not budge. The gym session is fighting against hours of elevated insulin that happened earlier. And if that gym session is high-intensity cardio, it adds another problem. Intense exercise spikes cortisol. Cortisol is your stress hormone. And visceral fat, the fat around your organs, has roughly 3 times more cortisol receptors than fat anywhere else in your body. When cortisol spikes, visceral fat gets the strongest signal of all to stay exactly where it is. This is why millions of people are working incredibly hard and seeing frustratingly little change specifically around their midsection. They are triggering the exact hormone that tells belly fat to hold on. Let's talk about crunches for a moment, because this myth keeps too many people stuck. Crunches strengthen the muscles underneath your belly fat. They do not burn the fat covering those muscles. Your body does not decide where to release fat based on which muscle you are using. Fat is released based on your overall energy balance and your hormonal environment. Think of it this way. Imagine wearing a thick winter coat over a perfectly fitted shirt. You can upgrade that shirt, make it stronger and more defined. But until the coat comes off, nobody sees it. Belly fat works exactly the same way. You can build the strongest abs in the world, but they will not appear until the fat on top decreases. And the fat on top will not decrease through crunches alone. So if intense cardio spikes the wrong hormones and crunches do not burn belly fat, what actually works? The answer is simpler than almost anything you have tried before. And the biology behind it is very clear. But first, one more thing worth understanding about why belly fat is so specifically stubborn compared to fat anywhere else. Visceral fat, the kind packed around your organs, is not just sitting there passively. It is metabolically active. It has its own blood supply, its own inflammatory signaling, and its own local hormone production. This fat releases chemicals that make you more insulin resistant over time, which means the more visceral fat you carry, the harder your body works to store even more. It is a loop that becomes harder to break the longer it runs. And breaking it requires changing the daily hormonal environment, not just burning more calories in a gym session. After you eat, your blood sugar rises. Insulin spikes to manage it. And for the next 30 to 90 minutes, your body is in full storage mode. This is the window that most people completely waste. They sit at their desk, they sit on the couch, they sit in the car. While insulin peaks and your body converts incoming energy into stored fat. Now here is what changes everything. When your muscles contract during even light movement, something specific happens. They pull glucose out of your bloodstream through a pathway that does not require insulin at all. Your muscles contain proteins called GLUT4 transporters. During rest, these transporters sit inactive inside the muscle cell. The moment you start moving, even a gentle walk, these transporters migrate to the cell surface and begin absorbing glucose from your blood directly. No insulin required. This is one of the most important mechanisms in metabolic health, and almost nobody talks about it in everyday fitness advice. When you walk for just 10 minutes right after a meal, your muscles start pulling glucose directly from your blood. Insulin does not need to spike as high to do the same job. The storage signal weakens, and your body starts leaning toward burning instead of storing much earlier than it otherwise would. This does not sound dramatic, but repeated 3 times a day after every meal, the cumulative effect on your insulin levels over a week, a month, a year is genuinely profound. Think about what this means in numbers. 3 meals a day means 3 insulin spikes a day. If each spike is 30% lower, because you walked for 10 minutes after eating, that is 3 smaller storage signals every day. 21 smaller storage signals every week. Over a month, your body has spent dozens of fewer hours in peak storage mode compared to the person who sat down after every meal. That is not a small difference in the hormonal environment your belly fat is living in. That is a fundamentally different environment. A study published in Diabetes Care demonstrated this precisely. Participants who took 3 short 10-minute walks, one after each meal, controlled their blood sugar over 24 hours just as effectively as one continuous 45-minute walk. But here's the part that matters even more for belly fat specifically. The after-meal timing was significantly better at blunting the insulin spike from that meal than walking at a random time later in the day. Same total movement, dramatically better hormonal outcome, just because of when it happened. And when insulin stays lower throughout the day, something else shifts. Cortisol no longer has the same reason to lock belly fat in place. Visceral fat is exquisitely sensitive to the combination of high insulin and high cortisol. When insulin stays controlled through the day, cortisol's signal to protect belly fat weakens. Your body gradually shifts toward a daily environment that favors releasing stored fat rather than hoarding it. This is the mechanism behind why 10 minutes after eating outperforms an hour of random cardio for belly fat specifically. It is not about burning calories in the moment. It is about changing the hormonal instruction your body receives hundreds of times over the coming weeks. Every meal is a signal. The 10 minutes after each meal is your chance to change that signal from store to burn. And you do not need a gym to do it. You do not need equipment or special clothes or a trainer watching you. You just need to stand up and move. This is also why this protocol is sustainable in a way that most gym programs are not. When something takes 10 minutes and requires no equipment, the barrier to doing it every day is almost zero. Most fat loss programs fail not because the science is wrong, but because the habit is too hard to maintain. 3 10-minute walks after meals is a habit almost anyone can build in a week and keep for years. And a habit you keep for years is worth infinitely more than a program you do perfectly for 2 weeks and abandon. Here is exactly how to apply this starting today. 3 walks, 10 minutes each, one after every meal. That is the entire protocol, after breakfast, after lunch, after dinner. The timing matters more than almost anything else about the walk. You need to be moving within 15 minutes of finishing your meal. That is when the glucose from your food is entering your bloodstream. That is when your GLUT4 transporters are in the best position to intercept it before insulin needs to spike as high. Miss this window and you miss most of the benefit. Walk an hour later and insulin has already done its work. The spike has already happened and the storage signal has already been sent. The 10 minutes right after eating is the window that matters. The walk does not need to be intense. It does not need to feel like exercise. A comfortable pace is enough for your muscles to start pulling glucose out of your blood. The goal is not to burn calories in the moment. The goal is to flatten the insulin curve before it peaks. You do not need to go outside. Walk around your kitchen, pace your hallway. Do laps around your living room. If you are at work, walk to the bathroom on a different floor. Walk while you take a phone call. The location does not matter. The movement does. If you genuinely cannot walk after one of your meals, stand. Simply standing and shifting your weight reduces the post-meal blood sugar spike by around 30% compared to sitting completely still. Standing is not as effective as walking, but it is dramatically better than doing nothing. On the days when life gets in the way, this is your minimum. Now let's talk about what happens when you add one more layer. Muscle is your body's largest glucose storage tank. Every kilogram of muscle you have is a reservoir that can absorb glucose from your bloodstream, reducing the load on insulin and reducing the fat storage signal. And here is something most people overlook about protein. When your first meal of the day is protein dominant, the insulin response to that meal is significantly lower than when you start with carbohydrates. Eggs, Greek yogurt, a protein shake, chicken, any of these as the foundation of your first meal sets a lower insulin baseline for the first few hours of your day. Then your after-meal walk keeps it from spiking too high. Together, they create a morning hormonal environment that your belly fat genuinely cannot thrive in. 2 short resistance training sessions per week on top of this, not hour-long gym workouts, just 30 minutes of squats, push-ups, rows, and similar movements, builds and maintains enough muscle to meaningfully increase your body's daily glucose handling capacity. Combined with 3 after-meal walks, this creates a compounding effect. More muscle absorbs more glucose. After-meal walks lower the insulin spike from each meal. Together they keep insulin lower across more hours of the day than either one alone could. Your belly fat does not disappear in a week, but the environment that was keeping it locked in place starts to shift from day one, and that shift is not subtle over time. Most people who apply this consistently for 4 to 6 weeks report their waistline feeling noticeably different before the scale reflects much change. That is because visceral fat responds to the hormonal environment faster than subcutaneous fat. When insulin stops spiking as high after every meal, visceral fat starts releasing its stored energy into circulation. You may not see it immediately in the mirror, but you will feel it in how your clothes fit, in your energy levels, and in how your stomach feels less tight and hard throughout the day. Let's come back to where we started. Someone spending an hour at the gym every day doing cardio and crunches. High cortisol from the intensity. No change in the insulin spikes that happen 3 times a day. Belly fat holding firm. And someone doing 10 minutes after each meal. Insulin flatter. Cortisol lower. The daily hormonal environment gradually tilting away from storage and toward release. 6 weeks later, the second person's waistline is visibly changing. Not because they worked harder, because they understood which 10 minutes matter most. Tonight after dinner, try this once. Stand up within 15 minutes of finishing your meal and walk for 10 minutes. Around the block, around your house, wherever. Then notice how your energy feels an hour later compared to a night when you sat down after eating. That difference is the shift happening in your bloodstream in real time. If you want to make this a permanent habit, come back and tell me in the comments what time you normally eat dinner, because that is the single most important 10 minutes in your day for changing how your body handles belly fat. And it costs you nothing but the decision to stand up. The gym does not need to be the answer. Your next meal already is.